Love isn't an emotion. It's a metaphysical law, Plato and the mystics. You think you know what love is. You've felt it, you've lost it, you've searched for it. You've reduced it to chemistry, to attachment patterns, to evolutionary biology. You've made it about hormones and neurons and survival instincts. But what if everything you think you know about love is just scratching the surface of something far more profound? What if love isn't something that happens to you, but something that you are? What if it's not an emotion at all, but the very force that holds reality together? This isn't just poetic language. This is an idea that has been explored by some of the greatest minds in human history, from ancient Greek philosophers to medieval mystics to modern physicists. And once you understand it, it will fundamentally change how you see yourself, your relationships, and your place in the universe. Let's start with Plato, who lived over 2,000 years ago, but understood something about love that we've somehow forgotten. Most people know Plato for his theory of forms, his cave allegory, and his thoughts on justice and government. But his deepest insights were actually about love, and they're more relevant today than ever. Plato wrote about something he called divine Eros. Now, when we hear the word Eros today, we think of sexual desire, physical attraction, romantic passion. But for Plato, Eros was something much larger and more mysterious. It was the soul's fundamental yearning to return to its source, to reunite with the eternal, to touch the divine. Think about that feeling you get sometimes when you look at a beautiful sunset, when you hear a piece of music that moves you to tears, when you encounter something so perfect it takes your breath away. That's not just aesthetic appreciation. According to Plato, that's your soul recognizing something eternal, something that reminds you of where you came from before you were born into this physical world. He believed that before we came into these bodies, our souls existed in direct contact with perfect truth, perfect beauty, perfect goodness. And love, divine Eros, is what drives us to remember and return to that state. Every time you fall in love with a person, you're actually falling in love with the divine spark within them. Every time you're moved by beauty, you're remembering your true home. This is why Plato talked about the ladder of love. You start by being attracted to one beautiful body, but if you're paying attention, that attraction leads you to appreciate the beauty in all bodies. Then you begin to see the beauty in souls, in minds, in character. Then you start to perceive the beauty in ideas, in knowledge, in wisdom. And finally, you glimpse the source of all beauty itself, the eternal, the divine, the absolute. This isn't just philosophical speculation. Plato was describing a real journey that the soul can take, a progression from physical attraction to spiritual awakening. He was saying that what we call love is actually the soul's GPS system, constantly pointing us toward home. But Plato wasn't the only one who understood this. Throughout history, mystics from every tradition have come to similar conclusions about the nature of love. The Sufi poets like Rumi and Hafez wrote endlessly about love as the force that dissolves the illusion of separation between the individual soul and the divine. Christian mystics like Meister Eckhart spoke of love as the very ground of being, the space in which all existence unfolds. These weren't romantic poets writing pretty words. These were people who had direct experience of love as a cosmic force, as the fundamental energy that creates and sustains everything. They discovered that what we think of as personal love, romantic love, family love, friendship, is just a local manifestation of something universal. In the mystical traditions, love isn't something you have or feel. Love is what you are. It's the very substance of consciousness itself. When a mystic talks about union with the beloved, they're not talking about a romantic relationship. They're talking about recognizing that the lover and the beloved were never actually separate in the first place. Think about it this way. When you look in a mirror, you don't say that you love your reflection. You recognize that the reflection is you. The mystics discovered that everything you think you love outside yourself is actually a reflection of your own deepest nature. Love isn't something that flows between separate beings. Love is the recognition that separation itself is an illusion. This understanding transforms everything. When you realize that love is not an emotion, but the very fabric of reality, you stop looking for love and start recognizing it everywhere. You stop trying to get love from others and start expressing the love that you are. You stop fearing the loss of love because you understand that love itself cannot be lost, only forgotten or ignored. But this goes even deeper than personal transformation. Modern physics is actually discovering what the mystics have always known, that the universe is fundamentally interconnected, that everything is related to everything else in ways that transcend space and time. Quantum entanglement shows us that particles can affect each other instantaneously across vast distances. The observer effect demonstrates that consciousness and reality are intimately connected. What if the force that creates these mysterious connections is the same force that draws two people together in love? What if love is the gravity of consciousness, the magnetic field of souls, the fundamental force that keeps the universe from flying apart? This isn't just metaphorical. There's a growing body of research showing that loving relationships have measurable effects on physical health, on brain function, and on genetic expression. Love changes your biology. It alters your immune system, your stress response, and your capacity for healing. If love were just an emotion, just a fleeting feeling, how could it have such profound physical effects? The answer is that love operates on a level deeper than emotion, deeper than psychology, deeper than biology. Love is what connects mind to body, individual to universe, finite to infinite. It's the bridge between the physical and the metaphysical, the temporal and the eternal. When you understand this, your whole approach to relationships changes. You stop looking for someone to complete you because you realize that completeness is your natural state. You stop trying to possess or control love because you understand that love is not a commodity, but a force of nature. You stop being afraid of loving too much because you recognize that love is inexhaustible. You also start to see that every relationship you have is a relationship with the divine expressing itself through different forms. Your romantic partner, your children, your friends, your enemies, they're all faces of the same underlying reality, all opportunities to recognize and express the love that you are. This doesn't make human relationships less important. It makes them infinitely more meaningful. When you love someone, you're not just sharing an emotion. You're participating in the fundamental force that creates and sustains reality. You're doing the work of the universe itself. But here's where it gets really interesting. If love is a metaphysical law, then it operates whether you believe in it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not. Just like gravity continues to work, whether you understand physics or not, love continues to work whether you understand its true nature or not. The difference is that when you become conscious of love as a universal principle, you can start to work with it intentionally. You can stop fighting against it, stop trying to manipulate it, and stop trying to limit it to just the people and situations you think deserve it. You can start to love the way the sun shines, not because certain people deserve it, not because you feel like it, not because you get something in return, but because that's your essential nature. You can love unconditionally, not as a spiritual practice or moral obligation, but as an expression of what you are. This is what Plato understood. This is what the mystics discovered. This is what modern science is beginning to confirm. Love isn't something that happens to you. Love is the space in which everything happens. It's not an experience you have. It's the experiencer itself. When you truly understand this, you realize that you've never actually been unloved, and you never could be. You've only been unconscious of the love that you are, blind to the love that surrounds you, deaf to the love that calls to you from every corner of existence. The question isn't whether love exists or whether you can find it. The question is whether you're ready to stop looking for love and start being it. Whether you're ready to stop experiencing love as something separate from yourself and start recognizing it as the very ground of your being. Because that's what you are. That's what everything is. Love experiences itself through infinite forms, playing the cosmic game of forgetting and remembering its nature. And once you remember, you can never really forget again.